When their aging Unix-based MRP system proved too expensive to upgrade, AGW reviewed several systems costing up to £100,000. They selected 123insight as its monthly subscription was the same as the maintenance they were paying for their previous system. Since going live in 2007, the company has increased turnover by over 50%, added 123insight's CRM Plus, implemented the UL temperature classification, and is also upgrading to ISO 9001-2015. This 10 years on case study examines where the business has changed and how 123insight has helped them with continual improvements. AGW Electronics Limited, based in Staveley, Derbyshire, manufactures electronic ground components and assemblies. The company went live with 123insight in 2007 and was commended in the Manufacturer Awards for their successful implementation 2 years later. Shortly after implementation, they had to deal with the double-dip recession, which was especially tough on the electronic sector. While business has since recovered and turnover has increased by over 50%, they wanted to ensure that it was still manageable as they continued to grow. The company has diversified in that it's now seen as the go-to supplier for more complex winding products, which Joint MD Nigel Godwin believes is down to the flexibility that 123insight provides.
We can react quickly in making samples and developing products because we can quickly find out whether we have stock of components to be able to make those items, and if stock isn't available, we can quickly find out who our suppliers are. The other advantage that we find as a company is our design and development engineers are familiar with 123 and are familiar with checking what components we have available and are used to using in 123. So they have been taught that to make sure that they use standard components or components that AGW are used to having in stock when they are developing and designing. So it's a big plus in terms of our profitability and being able to supply competitive prices to customers, because it's using product that we might have bought in larger quantities and have price advantage on.
AGW have to provide first article inspection information for many customers, including information such as the components used along with who supplied them. Nigel notes that 123insight has drastically reduced the time taken to produce this.
123 can then be interrogated and bring that information together very quickly, which saves a lot of time for the quality department in issuing these reports. I would say that the 123 has brought it down to something that you can do in minutes rather than something you can do in hours. If you didn't have a 123 system, then going and collecting that documentation and finding out what documentation is required, we could be talking half a day to a day's work.
AGW were instrumental in working with 123insight to help build the specification for CRM Plus, which they've used since its launch in 2009. Since then, although Nigel admits that they're not using it to its fullest within sales, its use has, to his surprise, expanded into many other areas within the company.
CRM Plus has given our sales department a lot better ability to respond to questions from customers, and we use the 123 system to also check our KPI on lateness for deliveries. I did go through the thinking like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be using CRM because we're not using it on the basis that I initially thought we might need to use it. But when I did sort of bring that up as a possibility, I was sort of knocked back and said, no, we use it for this, that and the other, and we enjoy it for that and need it for that.
The company holds the Underwriters Laboratories accreditation for component temperature classifications, and Nigel cites that 123insight's bill of materials structures have been instrumental to their ability to comply.
123 ties into it on the bill of material, and that is the critical part of the accreditation we have. it could be viewed as almost you have a menu of components, and if you stick to that menu of components that is issued by UL, then you're able to mark that product with the UL number. So we have to ensure that on our structure we have the correct components there, we have the notification on that structure that this is a UL product and no components can be substituted that are not within the UL menu that you use.
AGW also holds the ISO 9001-2008 quality accreditation. However, this is being replaced by ISO 9001-2015, with one of the new requirements focusing on the skills matrix of which staff are qualified on specific procedures.
We had a cumbersome trainings record system. We have now moved it completely to 123, and that gives us the ability to look at individual people and see what they're able to do, and to look at individual tasks and see which people are able to do those tasks. And it has given a very clean, neat system to work and for us to fulfil our requirements in the 2015 version.
Since implementing 123insight in early 2007, the company has seen several version upgrades. Nigel noted that the upgrade process has improved over time and that they are no longer reliant on 123insight to perform these. Each new release brings its own benefits, but certain features such as the implode-explode drill down have proved extremely beneficial.
Being able to search under a customer part number, or being able to search under a supplier part number, rather than having to search on description, and it gives you so much more ability to look at problems from different angles and finally get to an answer. Because we have such a large number of products that some aren't made for quite a number of years, and you'll get an inquiry and somebody will say, "Oh, do you know this?" And then we now have the ability to search for a various amount of part numbers and find the actual item that the customer is requiring.
Although 123insight is the backbone of the company and relied upon daily, Nigel has had very few occasions to call the help desk, with AGW hitting the average of around 1 call per customer per month.
The experience with 123 help desk is very good. You always get answered, you get to speak to somebody who knows what they're doing, and on the very rare occasion you get something that they don't quite know, they will soon be back to you having found out themselves what's going on. I kind of get the impression that they're not, it might sound harsh enough because I'm sure they do work hard, but they're not overworked, so you don't feel as though you never get the situation where you sort of sat thinking, "Oh, I'm in a queue and I'm 11th in the queue and I might get answered in half an hour." So I've always taken that as part of the 123 of a very substantial and firm piece of software that people don't need a lot of help with, and that kind of reflects in the number of times that I end up having to ring the helpline. Very, very few.
Over the last few years, AGW staff have noticed an increase in both suppliers and customers using 123insight.
It's nice to sort of recognise the layout of the template of purchase orders or sales orders, and you realise that, this person's using 123. You've got a bit of confidence that they're running a system where they should know what they're doing.
In addition to the ongoing benefits from the software, Nigel feels that his relationship with the company has also continued to grow.
It's always been very good, and that's one of the reasons that we like dealing with 123, and there's never any question about us changing from 123. We've always sort of seen this ability to interact with you as a company very good, and the fact that I can make a phone call and I get an answer, or I get somebody to talk to, is so good.
10 years on, Nigel still appreciates the 123insight subscription model and is confident that the system can help them to achieve their target of sustainable growth while still maintaining control.
Strange that more people haven't jumped to the way that you do it, because it was a huge incentive to begin with, and we didn't have to pay that big fee up front for something that you still don't know quite whether it's going to work for you or not. We probably have slightly less admin staff now than we did have 20 years ago, despite having a much increased turnover. And that is because the information and the actions are very easy. So they don't need a lot of people to actually handle paperwork and communicate with people in an old-fashioned manner.